Welcome back, everyone, to yet another adventure into Final Fantasy IV. We just got done with Mount Ordeals, and now we're going to see what we need to do to get to Baron, if I remember right.
You're right, Joe. We did get done with all of that, and we have to talk with the Elder again, though it is interesting talking with other people in town as they didn't think he would be able to redeem himself, though some people aren't as forgiving, which is understandable based on what he has done.
That's good and all. But did this Elder actually send kids to spy on Cecil? I couldn't have imagined that would be a smart idea. First off, he's probably a Democrat, since he's willing to spy on people like that. And second, if he was wrong about Cecil being able to redeem himself, then he's sending two pretty defenseless kids with him, and that seems like a terrible idea all around.
Donald, I agree with your point, but I'm sorry I have to interrupt. Is any of this important information that we have to be focusing on?
Honestly, no, this is similar to the beginning of the game where there's just text that generally says what the characters do, but this isn't required to read.
Oh, good. I was hoping we would get it done quickly so Donald didn't find another monologue in the game as an excuse to comment on my son's addiction to various illegal substances.
Hey, I haven't done it that many times, and besides, at this point, it's like a tradition to where I say that at the beginning of a Final Fantasy journey, if we start another game soon, then I'm sure it will happen again.
So while you two have been babbling about nonsense, I'm actually focused on the game. Is Tella a part of that test that Cecil had, or was that just a coincidence?
Nah, I was paying attention a little bit, and I don't think it was planned as the Elder didn't mention him in that plan. Plus, I think Tella just got there at the same time to accomplish his goal. I wonder why Cecil was the only one who had to fight something, and Tella just got what he wanted when he went into that room.
I'm not sure, but I think it would have been an interesting scene to watch Tella's figurative darkness win, since he seems so consumed on revenge, as a contrast to Cecil fighting against his darkness in a more literal way.
I do agree with that stance, although it would be a little weird in a gameplay sense to have two fights like that in a row, along with it possibly taking away from Cecil's victory, but I see what you're getting at. Honestly, if this game ever got a remake, like the Final Fantasy VII remake, that would be the best place to put it, but I think the chances of that happening are nearly zero at this point.
Yeah, Square Enix still has multiple parts of the Final Fantasy VII remake to release, though the second part should be out a couple days after this is posted, so that should be fun. Even then, some games would arguably use that same remake treatment better, that need more improvement, such as the first couple games, or some of the more obscure releases like Mystic Quest or Adventure.
Didn't Final Fantasy Adventure get a remake, though? I think that was more in line with the Saga games rather than Final Fantasy, despite the name, but still, it did receive better versions later on, though. They weren't to the same extent in HD or anything like that.
Actually, yeah, now that you mention it, you're right. It did get a remake, but I haven't played much of the original, so I haven't kept up with that side of the franchise. I imagine it would be good to play, but I'm not too interested in it right now.
Can you nerds calm down for a moment about your adventures and everything? I bet the audience and also Joe and I have no idea what you're talking about. And plus, are we fighting Yang? How did he get here and why are we fighting him?
Well, I think he landed here after the ship crashed into Leviathan, but I'm not sure why he's fighting against us now. Maybe he hit his head on a frying pan or something and is all mixed up in his head.
I don't know the precise reason why he's fighting us either. I just know we have to beat him and these guards, otherwise we aren't able to progress any further.
Actually, now that we're back in Baron, can we stop by the dancers again?
No, Barack, please don't stop at the dancers. We need just one part of him not being insane to the dancers. I think we're 0 and 4, if I remember right.
Don't worry, we will not be stopping at the dancers, so we will move on without seeing them, if I can help it, so we can have at least one part where he is calm the entire time.
I was about to chime in, but thank you for not stopping by them. I don't want to know what would happen if we did, but I'm sure it's pretty predictable at this point.
Oh man, maybe next time I'll be back to see them.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Wait, George, have you been here this whole time? I think this is the first time you've said anything in the past several minutes.
Oh yeah, I was just listening to your discussions and didn't have much to add, so I was fine just listening to everything, but don't worry about it. I didn't feel left out or anything.
Okay, good. We didn't want you to think we were ignoring you or that you weren't being listened to. We like having your company even though you're not too familiar with this game series.
Actually, there was something we were planning on asking you. We've been playing golf every once in a while against each other, and it's just been the 4 of us for all the courses, but we've gotten a lot of requests to add someone else in, so we wanted to know if you would be fine to join us in the next course we play, which probably won't happen for a few more weeks, but it would be fun to have your input.
Oh yeah, that would be a great time. I'll admit I haven't played golf with your friends the game specifically, but I'm aware of golf a lot more than Final Fantasy, so sure, I'll join in next time you're available.
Good to know, George. I'm really excited for that gaming session then. But back on this game, we beat Yang and made him come back to his senses, meaning he will rejoin us and let us access the second way into Baigan Castle, since they won't accept us coming in.
Oh, there was another way, that's right. Did we go there at the beginning of the game at all?
Not that I can remember, no, but then again, that's when we were still learning all of the characters and wasn't focused on the castle layout so much.
I'm sure Barack will lead us over pretty easily enough, but I think we should all rest at the inn after that fight.
Sounds good, George, but I do wonder if the people in the room are bothered by the fight that just happened. We killed a few Baron soldiers, and nobody else seems too bothered about that fact. Perhaps even the citizens of Baigan are so sick of the king's orders that they're just okay with everything that transpired.
I never thought about it like that, but it's not a bad reasoning, though I'm sure the developers were not thinking about that very much while writing out these series of events.
Oh, hey, we got the Baron key. I imagine that will be useful for us getting to whatever the second entrance to the castle is.
It could be useful for exploring other areas in the town too, since there are probably other locks that this key could open that would give us useful items.
Both conclusions are correct. We'll first be stopping by this shop that was previously closed and see what's in there. It's not a requirement, but since we're not going to be in Baigan that much after this, we might as well get what's available. I think we'll go into the castle itself one or two more times later on, but not really the town so much.
Okay, that's fine. As long as we get good equipment for everyone, that's what matters. I imagine there's going to be a major boss fight in the castle itself coming up.
I can only imagine who we might see. Maybe Kane will be back, though I'm not sure since he's a bad guy now.
I don't know, even though the king was giving bad orders at the beginning, I don't think whatever Kane's goals are now would really line up with the king or have any need to come back here, but I'm not too sure.
Not really much of a spoiler, but no, we won't be seeing Kane and Baigan coming up. He has his own things going on, and we don't need to worry about him now.
That's fine. We'll find out in a little while anyway who is showing up, but I'm guessing this is the way to Baigan Castle now, correct?
It better be otherwise. We're just going into this waterway for nothing, which I don't think Barack would make us do, or at least I really hope not.
I can assure you this is the correct way to progress, so this won't take long. Though, since we're getting into the random encounters again, I think I should explain Cecil's changed to a paladin from a gameplay perspective. He cannot use his previous equipment, but he can use white magic spells, which he could not before. And he is reset to level 1, but he is still fine at that level, though that also means he can level up very quickly for the next few battles, which is helpful for getting more experience quickly at this point in the game.
So basically he heals people and is generally better to use.
That is a more simple way of looking at it, but I suppose that is still correct.
Is Cecil as good with magic as someone like Rosa or Tella would have been?
Unfortunately not. He is mainly good at fighting still, but he won't learn nearly as many spells as either of them can. I mainly like using his magic outside of battles for healing, as he just doesn't have as much opportunity to use it in battle, and even then, other magic users can be much more effective.
Hey, this isn't really related, but I've noticed the fighting amongst everyone has gotten down since the playthrough continues, especially compared to other adventures. I think it's good. Everyone is getting along better, though I wonder why that is.
I think some of it is that we're just trying to keep up with what's happening on the game and asking Barack what is going on, so there's simply not as much time to argue. And the other is just not taking away from the game's important moments so much, but I don't really know what others have to say on that.
I don't really know where I'm at, to be honest with you.
I'd say it's more us being more used to each other at this point that makes it a better time in regards to cooperation, even if it is just Barack playing the game and us watching.
It probably is just Final Fantasy that brings us all together in such a way that makes us happy to be experiencing it together, that we forget about all of our differences.
No, it's definitely not that.
Well, that's good to know. I wonder if it will be like that in the golf session coming up then.
I guarantee you it's going to be a lot more competitive when that time comes around. It's a whole different environment there where everyone is in it to win. But we can save all that for when we actually play it so we can focus on this game. Though I'll admit, not much is really happening here.
Yeah, it's not much different from the caves we were traveling through earlier in the game visually. And even the enemy designs are almost the same.
I'll admit some of these caves aren't too interesting, but it does give some time for us to discuss other things and not focus solely on what's happening on screen.
Ooh, does that mean there's enough time for me to tell one of my stories to you?
No, that is not what it means. I do need an episode or 7 without your stories, since I just can't stand them, which you somehow still don't understand.
Oh, I thought you really liked them this whole time. What do you know?
All right, everyone, no time for stories. We're back in Baigan, and we need to get ourselves to the king and show him how he's messed up and other important things.
It doesn't look like much has really changed here, but we'll see who is still here.
In a couple seconds, you're all about to find out.
Hey, something's wrong here with Baigan. We can only have 5 party members, but somehow he is joining us. I don't think that's going to work out.
In addition to that, I find it rather unusual that he is the only survivor while they were looking for Sid. I don't even think we know where he is, plus who would have been attacking them.
I don't think that makes much sense, but it looks like even the characters are suspicious of him too.
All right, everyone, it's boss fight time against Baigan. The basic strategy against him is going to be use one Faraga spell against the main body, and then take out one of the 2 arms with physical attacks.
Hold up, Barack. Why are we only using one Faraga spell and only on the main body? If we're supposed to take out all of him, I think it would make more sense to attack each part instead.
That makes sense, but I think he knows something we don't about this fight.
You are right, Joe. Baigan is going to use Reflect on each body part, meaning we have to use only the spell once, as if we used it more than once. Then Reflect will make it hit one of our party members instead, which we definitely don't want. The reason why we're only taking out one of the arms is because Baigan will regenerate his arms, but only if he loses both of them for some strange reason. It is a bit annoying for him to be constantly taking health away with one arm, but the alternative is to have 2 of them coming up and doing the same thing.
Oh, okay, that does make a lot more sense. I'm not sure if we've seen Reflect used in this game, or at least I don't remember it right now, so I didn't think of that as a strategy against us.
This seems like a difficult fight for a beginner, especially as you would normally think to take out both arms at the same time, but wouldn't know they regenerate like you said.
Yeah, even on this attempt, it took me several tries. So I cut out a few minutes of failed attempts, just so the viewers don't have to see all of those when they lead to nowhere.
I appreciate the effort into not boring us with those tries that you didn't succeed at. This does look like a more engaging fight than most of the other ones up to this point.
Are there any other strategies you think would work well against him or not?
I did have an idea. If one of the party members had Reflect on them instead, could a Faraga be used on them to bounce onto Baigan as well?
That is good thinking, but unfortunately it's not good in practice. As yes, the idea itself would work, but Faraga could go to one of Baigan's arms or to the main body, and assuming you already took out one arm, then if the other gets destroyed, then both will come back, and it becomes more of a hassle at that point. If you get lucky and hit the main body, though, it would be much faster of a fight. So there is some risk and reward elements to doing it that way.
Maybe that would have been good to try, as this battle has been going on for a while now.
Wait a minute, Barack, are you using Faraga against him? I thought you said Reflect would make it hit someone else.
Oh yeah, there was an important detail I forgot to mention. Reflect is actually only a temporary spell, so after a while in battle, you can use it against the enemy. Sorry, that would have been better to say earlier.
That's okay. From what I could tell, I don't think the fight would have been much different either way. Even if you mentioned it earlier.
All right, it looks like Baigan is finally done, and we can move on to fighting the king, or at least I assume that's what we were going to be doing.
I'm not sure if that was the goal in coming here. I thought it had more to do with the crystals. Though if he wanted us to bomb a village, then I can see how that is the inevitable conclusion.
We're here now, so let's see what ends up happening with him.
Oh no, this guy looks like he's not really the king. It seems there's an imposter among us.
Wait, this isn't really the king after all? I think we've been bamboozled.
I always knew he was acting pretty sus to us at the beginning.
Wait, we're really doing another fight already. The last one we did was not even a minute ago. And is the game really showing this huge blue guy somehow impersonated a regular-sized human? How in the world would that work? I mean, physically, there is no way for him to occupy that small of a space.
All right, Barack, now how are we supposed to fight this guy?
That's a good amount of questions. This is Cagnazzo, the second of the elemental archfiends, and his weakness is Blizzaga, but while he is using his water attack, it's not going to work against him. So you have to use Thunder to get his attack to stop, and then you can properly use Blizzaga to do a lot of damage. Though I'm not sure how he got that small to impersonate the king. I've never understood that.
It also looks like that tsunami attack is what happens if you don't use the thunder spell in time.
At least this seems like a more simple fight compared to the Baigan one, though not by too much.
Yeah, and I do feel bad for players that wouldn't assume there would be two fights in a row and lost to this one, having to do both all over again. I think this is one of the only times like that in the game where it happens, though it is pretty easy to save in the cave from before.
Is this guy done yet? Honestly, I'm not interested in the fight so much after 2 in a row so quickly. I'd rather just move on to wherever else the game decides to send us.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm not really too into this right now. I want something a bit different coming up in the story since not much has happened here since we got Yang back.
Why is that? Do you have somewhere else to be or something? I mean, I know you're the president and all, but I didn't think you were doing much.
Oh, no, my schedule is wide open. In fact, I think my 3rd sleeping session today is coming up in about half an hour. So I have that to look forward to soon.
Don't worry, Joe, the fight is over, so you'll be going to your sleeping session on time, unless there's a 3rd fight that has to be done.
Nah, that was the last major fight for this episode. We don't have to worry about any others. Until next time. And here comes Sid. Turns out he actually was locked up, but somehow escaped, though I don't think that was ever explained. My theory is Baigan knew about Sid being imprisoned, but wasn't really going to save him and killed the others, but we'll never really know.
Hey, 2 old guys arguing with each other in front of everyone else, that sounds like the election in a nutshell.
I would definitely be Sid, the stronger, no-nonsense attitude person with a hammer. Meanwhile, Joe would be Tella, where he has to stop everything to remember what he's doing, but with no magic.
No, I think I would be Sid. He kind of looks like me, and I think I have some goggles like him that I won at a carnival in 1835.
That does not make you sound any better somehow.
Wait, what's going on? I don't think this is normal.
I think this blue light is supposed to be from Cagnazzo, if I understand right, but that still doesn't explain what is going on.
Oh, the walls are caving in. I don't know how they can be stopped.
The doors are somehow locked too. That's pretty weird.
Are those 2 really going to try and push the walls themselves? Statistically speaking, 2 children are not able to stop a wall from crushing them, and although I don't have the exact numbers on how quickly the walls are caving in, there is simply no scientific reasoning as to how they can be of any help.
Did those kids just sacrifice themselves to save us?
Unfortunately, yes, they did sacrifice themselves. They turned themselves into stone so they could stop the walls from coming in.
Wow, that's pretty sad. They shouldn't have had to do that to save everyone.
Hold on, let's not get distracted by the feelings, but instead focus on the facts and logic of this. Hypothetically, let's say you could turn yourself into stone. This would just make you into a more dense and probably heavier structure. But based on the wall moving, I highly doubt the weight of them would be enough to stop the walls from coming in, as the size of 2 child-sized statues would be fairly insignificant to whatever force is bringing the walls closer. Even then, the 2 would have to be firmly stuck into the ground to have any leverage against the walls. Otherwise, they would more realistically just get pushed closer into the center, and at that point would have no real value. And even if they would be able to stop them, I don't know what they're going to do about the doors still being locked. With the smaller amount of space in there, they will start to suffocate within an hour or so. Therefore, I have logically concluded their sacrifice should realistically be worthless.
So what was with the sudden Australian accent midway through that? It was pretty weird to hear you change your voice like that. Besides that, it's a bit insensitive to dismiss what is clearly a sad moment in this game.
It's not my fault those kids are idiots and their plan just happened to work out my sheer luck. I'm just the one pointing out inaccuracies in physics to the people.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right. That didn't make much sense. And it leaves more room for a strong character like Sid, who is like me in many ways. So I think there was a net benefit.
I just didn't like those kids since they weren't very useful with magic by comparison to Tella. So I think we may be better off.
Wow, I thought that moment was going to resonate a lot more with the fact that Tella showed regret that he wasn't the one who did it, due to his age being much higher and just the fact that 2 young children made a tough decision. But that seems to be completely disregarded by nearly all of you without much thought. I was expecting something much different.
I like to stay unpredictable when I can. I can't explain anyone else's reaction, though.
Oh, hey, it's Kane again.
Yes, it is. Before we end the episode, he is blackmailing us with the crystal in exchange for Rosa's life. So that is what we will be doing next time.
That sounds very riveting. I'm excited to see what happens next.
As always, thanks for having me on for this game. It's fun to see what new areas are available to travel to and see how the overall story progresses.
And like always, thank you to the viewers for watching. We hope you enjoy each part that comes out.
We'll have a few more videos out before we come back to Final Fantasy IV, but until then, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
We'll be off to a brand new part of the world. Peace out, people.